Good morning or afternoon, depending upon where you are. My circadian rhythms are completely out of whack, so my apologies for not knowing what the hour of the day is. I shared a message out on Twitter and on Facebook and a couple of different groups that I wanted to come live this morning and talk about the subject of censorship. And it's our choice, folks. We really have no legitimate complaint about how our voice may be shut down. I don't have a basis to complain about how Periscope or YouTube or Facebook or Twitter shuts down my voice. I'm using their platform, and they get to make whatever decision they want as a private company as to whether my voice gets heard by people on their platform or not. That's my choice. I understand what I'm walking into with eyes wide open. And I know my voice is very, very limited. My ability for my voice to be shared is predicated upon having people become aware of my voice. And unfortunately, my voice has such a truth behind it. It's not a voice or a message in which people are comfortable standing beside or sitting next to. It's uncomfortable. But unfortunately, truth, or the quest of truth, should be uncomfortable. Because if we're so programmed based upon our feelings, we can become contaminated and we are absent of truth. So I want to talk about the importance of being mindful of what we say, where we say it, and how we say it. So I've been speaking to the First Amendment community quite a bit. And the First Amendment community, I've been challenging them to identify what their authentic why. Why are they doing what they do? And be honest about it. Look at yourself internally and say, why am I spending the time and the hours in doing the audits? Why am I watching those audits? Why are people involved in this? And why do they continue to do it in platforms that they know they're being censored? Why are they on YouTube? Why are they on Facebook? Why are they on Twitter? A couple of people go over to Discord, but Discord is also not very private. And we have a voice, but we choose to use the voice in the wrong direction. So when I'm talking inside of private Facebook groups, or I'm talking on Facebook or Twitter, I know I'm only getting one layer of communication. That I have a voice that's much more powerful outside of the social media control from the Silicon Valley control and the government's prying eyes, and that I need to move into those environments. So for example, I'm going to go back to this again. The actions of the representative from Pennsylvania that was doing some protesting, exercising his free speech in front of Planned Parenthood. Again, I support his right to exercise his speech. I'm a huge proponent of free speech. I say hate speech is undefinable. So I approve his ability to go there and do his protest lawfully. But he was not lawful. He was doing things which were categorically unlawful, and that they met the definition of stalking and harassment. And he should be held accountable to that behavior. But my accountability is not on Twitter, and it's not on Facebook, and it's not on YouTube. My accountability is I got to go into his environment and hold him accountable among his peers. He is an elected official, and he has taken an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, which gives him the right for that free speech. But it doesn't give him a pass for being held accountable for how he uses that speech unlawfully through stalking and harassment. So I went into his domain. I invited others to go into that domain and file an ethics investigation request and give them the evidence to support that ethics investigation. And I spent the time to make it easier for other people to take a proactive step instead of complaining on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, to get out of that and go directly to the beast, the head of the beast, and hold him accountable based upon being an elected official. Fill out that ethics complaint form. Go through the step of having notarized and provide the evidence. So what I did is I made it easy for everyone. And a percentage of people went and took the steps to go to my bit.ly link, download my email, download the ethics complaint form, fill it out, and send it. Some did it through email, some did it with the steps of the notarization, and they did it. And honestly, that affected change. Our Facebook comments, the rally down in Philadelphia, those were great. Look at me, stand together, united in confronting this message. But the real action of accountability is not happening on the streets of the sidewalk. Yes, that is affecting people's lives, no doubt about that. And that was a beautiful, glorious thing to watch happen. But there's something else we can do addition to, and that's go right into the vehicle. So if you're involved in any of the groups that I am, is on social media, which are private and public groups that are advocacy for exercising free speech and holding law enforcement accountable, that is such meaningless, trivial drivel that we're there supporting each other around a cause, but we don't leave Facebook. We don't leave YouTube. All these First Amendment auditors have their own little community of people that are subscribing to their channel, and it's you're preaching to the choir, but you got to get away to the choir and go into the church. So we are John Galt, the bit.ly link that's on my screen right above me, the bit.ly link that's in the Twitter stream that's going out on Periscope, if you are kind enough to share it out on Twitter. I know my voice doesn't reach many. Is saying we have another way to communicate and hold law enforcement and public servants accountable. We have the right to redress. We have the right to petition. Those are inalienable rights as private citizens to hold elected officials and public servants accountable. But we don't take advantage of that. We don't go and seek redress because we believe our only redress is through the legal system inside the courts. That's not true. That is one vehicle of redress, but there's another vehicle of redress. So if we're upset with the tyrannical militarization of our police and how private citizens are being pressed down, and I don't say this categorically, I'm saying that the structure is set up to our disadvantage. And as citizens, we should address the structure, and that we should use our voice to confront our politicians and the law enforcement with this structure and say, we're tired of it and we need it fixed. But only our voice has the ability to fix it. So the Thin Blue Line is organized. They're unionized. There are national organizations that are supported by nonprofits such as the AFL-CIO. And there's national unions of the Thin Blue Line. We can pierce them as a group, not as individuals, but we can take petitions and we can do a wearechange.org and do a petition and address the unions and say, us 100,000 citizens, us 1 million citizens are tired that good cops are not stopping in to stop bad cops. That we want to reward those whistleblowers that expose the tyranny that is inside the department. We want to empower those good cops to stop a rogue cop from going aside and not derank him, or not have the structure oppress him, or to have the structure dox him or move him. We want to elevate the good and remove the bad. And we want you to have the same restraints in which you impose upon us as citizens. You should not be protected by qualified immunity. You should not have that blanket of protection. And as our voice cannot reach a megaphone level when we're on social media. We need to exit from social media. We need to unite in vision, mission, and message and say, we're tired of this. We have to stop complaining and whining, because all we're doing, absent of action, all you are is a whining 2-year-old over in the corner, where you may get some people that are going to go in the corner and whine with you. So Paul Joseph Watson, who is an internet celebrity who has been associated with Prison Planet and InfoWars, and he is a very vocal person. And he has been deplatformed off of Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. But every day he's coming into Twitter because he does have a voice on Twitter. I apologize, he's not taken off of that one. But he's constantly talking about how our speech has been silenced. Very true. And you have been shadow banned on Twitter. But why are you still feeding the bear that is biting you? Why are you not calling to action in unity for people to get off the platform and go where free speech is honored? And take all of those voices, instead of creating a community of whiners, take those community of whiners and say, you know what? I'm going to call you the Twitter whine. And I'm just going to hashtag everything Twitter whine. And I'm going to talk to you Twitter whiners. Because you are not the people that are doing anything other than complain. And I'm going to have another group that I'm going to talk to under a different hashtag that's going to be Twitter action, whatever it is, and say, if you want to do something, you want to put legitimacy behind your complaint, go where your voice can be heard, that we can unite. See, progressives are killing conservatives because conservatives are whining and they choose not to act. They are so independent and individualized that they will not divert any energy from their own individual efforts to direct a portion of it towards unity and in participating as a collective voice. Now, conservatives have very powerful, articulate, substantial messaging. And we could all benefit from fine-tuning and collaborating in taking everyone's talents and trying to sharpen the point of a message. But we're not going to achieve success when you have something bigger, larger, more powerful pushing you down. And we need to say, enough is enough. I will communicate on Twitter as I do now. I will communicate on Periscope as I do now. Same with Facebook and YouTube. For my purposes. My purpose is to call attention to the hypocrisy and the laziness and the complacency of people living in social media, and also doing is complaining and say, same stuff, different day. You are part of the problem because you continue to participate and consume in those platforms, and you will not be bold enough to go where the message. That's very true. That is enough. Sure it is. Sure it is. There are many topics that are heavily censored on these platforms. They're censored in various degrees. But we need to exit out of that control. You can't complain about Silicon Valley as long as you're using Silicon Valley's tools. If your business is predicated upon someone else's business, your business plan doesn't have a plan B strategy. What is your plan B? I am going to depend, my livelihood is dependent upon my YouTube subscribers. My livelihood is dependent upon those people that are contributing to me through Facebook groups. My livelihood is based upon how many tweets and retweets I get on Twitter. That's a business based upon someone else's business. I utilize those platforms to extend an invitation and say, I'm going to use this for my purpose and invite you to come over here and learn more about me outside of Silicon Valley, outside of government prying eyes. Come in here. And I have various degrees of relationships with people based upon their willingness to be transparent. If you want to be a troll, you can be a troll. But I'm not going to speak to a troll with the same energy and influence to somebody that is aligned with the mission and vision. And you're going to have to make a commitment to authenticity and transparency in order to get into a relationship with me that confirms that you're something other than a troll. I control my audience, not somebody else. So this is kind of a call to action. If I am disgruntled with how police conduct is related to any video that pops up on any channel, I do something about it. Sure, I make a comment inside of YouTube. Sure, I make a comment on a Facebook group, but I do something else because I want to put legitimacy behind who I am in validating my outrage on somebody's behavior and hold them accountable. Hold them accountable. So I'm going to do some time and investigative energy to find the police department, to find the mayor of the community, to find the elected officials in the area, to find the chief of police, to find the mayor, to find the district attorney, to find the police chief and the sheriff. And I'm going to get that information, and I'm going to draft a letter. And I'm going to send that letter to all of those people. And then I'm going to take a copy of that letter, and I'm going to try to find the local community on social media relative to that event. Because I know in Facebook, there are all these groups. You know you're from insert city name. Those groups exist. You know you're from blah, blah, blah. Those groups exist. There's groups based upon Craigslist areas. There's different ways to communicate. So I go to that group in that community and say, hey, are you aware of this officer that did this to a citizen in your community? Take a look at this video. Is this acceptable behavior? Or would you like to have more transparency with your police? Oh, by the way, if you want to take action, there's some things that you can do. And I educate that community. Now, I don't have a popular YouTube channel because it's shut down. I don't have reach on Facebook because I'm censored. I don't have reach on Twitter because I'm censored. But I take the efforts to reach the local community and say, you know, this officer, we don't have a lot of context, but as your community, that this guy is serving your community, those 10,000 people that saw that video on YouTube are not your local community. You may have one person from your community that saw that video on YouTube. If you're lucky. If you're lucky. But I want to address this to your community and say, this is probably something you should be aware of. Your mayor should be aware of this. Your chief of police should be aware of this. And you people in your community should know this. That your school students that are getting ready for their graduation and the activities that are happening out there, they should be aware to conduct themselves accordingly, or this could happen to them. And I need to have a conversation with my child how they conduct themselves when encountering the law enforcement. And go with the Rappaport brothers motto and shut the F up, pardon me. You don't need to talk to them. You have no obligation to talk to the police, so don't. If you're in a vehicle and you're detained for a traffic citation, just be quiet and give your paperwork over and just submit and comply. Don't aid their investigation. You don't have any obligation to assist them in investigating you. That's called self-incrimination. You don't need to incriminate yourself. Allow them to do their investigation. They're going to give you a citation. Hopefully they don't pull you out of the car and abuse you and assault you and do these other things. But I have no hope in that other than a good cop coming in and saying, don't do that. That's inappropriate. So I want to empower people to stop the complaining. There's something else that we can do. We can seek redress. We can seek the petition. That our hope of change lies in our ability to be united and using the progressive strategies in a positive way. Progressives love to shut down the conservative voices by going out and attacking their advertisers and doing things through boycotts, and they're very successful at doing that. We can take the same momentum through unity and organizing a collective voice, but do it in a way which is intended for a positive outcome of change. Not a repressive one, but an advancement one. Progressives are truly regressive. They want to usher in a false utopia. Conservatives want to reclaim the freedoms and liberties which were bought and paid for through blood of patriots. We want to restore our freedoms and liberties. We know that taxation is a theft going to a bureaucracy that has zero fiscal responsibility and zero fiscal accountability. And they're bound by an oath, but they're not held accountable to the standard of honoring that oath. and that we're required to take that oath, and we will be prosecuted or held in contempt under suspicious of doing something malicious or contemptuous or perjurous. But our elected officials don't have that same standard. And it would be wise if we have the law enforcement and the legislators of law be held accountable to the same standard in which they are imposing their will upon our obedience and compliance to the law. They get a pass. They get to legislate, but be immune from that which they legislate. We accept that. We accept it. I'm saying it's time for us to say, we don't have to accept that. If we're putting these people into office and they're continually regulating and restricting and regulating, we can say we can just be quiet and complain it, or just complain on Twitter and Periscope and YouTube. Just complain. But we're shouting at a wall at ourselves because it's not piercing through the wall. And there's another way for us to take action. So I invite people to join We Are John Galt, to follow me at Cultural Contrarian on Facebook. Those are the social... Facebook, I'm going to participate with limited communication because I am so heavily censored. And I want to say, people, in order to learn how to do this, I don't want to do it in the public domain. I want to invite you to come in behind a wall. The wall that is free from the prying eyes and the privacy invasion and the censorship and the manipulation and control and the deplatforming, that my voice can be free. My voice can be free, unrestrained. Now, you may not agree with everything that I say in there, but I give you the ability to communicate back with me and say, you know what, there's another perspective. I want the additional perspective. I don't want to be myopic in my views and opinions. I want feedback. I want respectful feedback. And if you violate that respect, that's okay. I'm a big boy. I've heard the words before. But the best way to get me to influence me is to not go ad hominem and to reduce the amount of profanity. Because your ability to influence me is done through respect, not through condemnation. So I wanted to put this broadcast out there. It is being recorded. I'm going to put it up on YouTube. I want a call to action to ask the auditors, who are you really? Why are you doing what you do? It may be for you to affect change through education in speaking to public servants and law enforcement, which is great, and educating to private citizens about our rights and that there is no expectation of privacy in public. That is great. But your YouTube audience is all the people that are saying, yes, I already get it. But your local community is not hearing it. You're not going to the local community. You're going in the local community, but the mayors and the council people and the prosecutors and the public defenders and the chief of police, you don't have people beside you saying, you know what? This video needs to be seen by more people. Not in YouTube, not on Facebook. I need to take that somewhere else. I need to send a letter with hyperlinks for people to see what is happening in my community. Mr. Mayor, you represent a population of 7,000 people in this local community, and we've got a couple of people out here that are going rogue. And we need to put corrective action in here, and we need to stop this unlawful, oppressive behavior, all for the sake of revenue generation, to oppress law-abiding citizens. It's up to us to stop the tyranny. We don't need to do it with weapons. We don't need to do it with violence, but we can use the power of our voice. The belligerent complainant. Give me evidence. Your words, your feelings, your thoughts about me, absent of evidence, has a value of 0. Bring your evidence forward to what you are claiming and or charging me. I will acknowledge you have no evidence. And your lack of evidence means that you are going to go down a path which is unlawful, and you are going to violate my civil rights. I'm telling you now. You're violating my ability to exercise my speech and freedom of press lawfully. You're making up unlawful statements regarding my abilities on a public space. You're creating a narrative which is absent of any evidence. And you're going to infringe upon my Fourth Amendment to be secure in my person's, papers, property, and effects. And you can continue to be an unlawful person. But I have the right to be belligerent in my refusal of, I will not resist. I will comply with your unlawful orders and comply with it, well, to a limit. I will comply under protest and state that you are violating my rights. So I do have more power in my redress. I have more power in my petition, and I have the ability to bring the evidence to the public and say, listen, folks, I did nothing wrong according to the law. This person making a claim of obstruction of justice is fallacious for these reasons. This person claimed that I was trespassing is fallacious. They have no evidence of my obstruction. They have no evidence. I have no obligation to assist them in their investigation. They have no evidence of me doing anything criminal trespass. They have no evidence of me causing a disturbance. This is all traditional, typical police narrative of tyrannical oppression that I'm calling baloney to it. And here's my evidence, officer. I made you aware that you're violating my First Amendment right. You're violating my Fourth Amendment right. You're violating my 14th Amendment right. And you're going to lose your qualified immunity. Yes, it may take me time. It may take me financial resources. But I'm going after your pension, buddy. Because you're unlawful. You're acting under the color of law unlawfully. You do not have the delegation of authority for violence, for kidnapping, for causing harm to my person who is a law-abiding citizen based upon your limited training of 6 months worth of indoctrination in a police academy with a level of ignorance about the law, and you're going to act out on your emotions and your steroid rage against me. And I'm going to say that doesn't work in our society. I have constitutional protections. I have inalienable rights, and I'm going to rebuke you. I have no obligation to be respectful and courteous to a person that is violating me. I'm not going to be physically combative. I'm not going to physically restrain. But I'm going to call out belligerently that you are an out of control, unreasoned, emotionally hopped up sycophant. And I'm going to call a spade a spade. So when my objective record of the video goes before the magistrate and he says, why did you arrest him? Well, he failed to ID. Now, you can't do that as a primary charge. Why did you stop this guy to begin with? Why did you engage him to begin with? Well, he was suspicious. Suspicion is arbitrary. You have to have evidence that something is suspicious. And if he was wearing a tutu, so what? He could be wearing a tutu. That suspicion doesn't mean anything. You need to have something related to a crime. Your investigative stop is warrantless. Truly, there is no warrant to authorize you to detain me. You need to have reasonable, articulable suspicion that a crime has occurred, a crime is in process, or a crime is about to occur. And you can't construe a First Amendment protected activity into a crime. You can't do that. And I'm going to call you out on it. So I want this message to be an energizing to the First Amendment community and others to say we have the power of our voice and we can shout to our own audience. Sure, we can invite other people to subscribe to channels to get that audience a little wider, but you're still saying inside the same choir. You're preaching to the choir. The choir needs to get out and go into the church and go into the community, and we need the voice to get wider. I want to be a catalyst to help unite those voices and say there's something else that we can do. Cosmic, it is echo chambers. They're completely echo chambers. You're yelling through a straw, a coffee stirrer at that. And in order to get the diverse forum, we need to step outside the echo chamber and control of social media. And I'm building that bridge, and I want people to collaborate, but it starts with you. You've got to make the bridge to say, There's another way for this to be done. I'm not looking for your financial support. I'm looking for your voice tied to action. Because the monetization will come at some other point, because we need to gather the financial resources to assist that voice appropriately and directed so we can combat this tyranny. And there will be the need of legal resources to support those people. It's Cosmic Solstice. It's multi-layered because people are not willing to springboard into security. Ask Rob Braxman that. They're not willing to take this step into security because they're losing the socialization that they've been indoctrinated to. So the coding platform changes depending upon how deep you get into building that community. So when you get into the ultimate community, we're talking about a PHP platform, a Python platform that we have the ability. Oh, behind that is a membership site. That's a PHP-based membership site. So that's a reasonable question. So that is not a social media platform. It is where I host. Yes, correct. So it's PHP. Everything that's happening inside there is PHP, but it's membership where I can host documents and I can post images and hyperlinks to videos, and but it's not under the prying eyes of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or Facebook. None of those. But then in order to get into the deeper conversations, I want to go into this secure encrypted communication. But that's only necessary for the people that have a voice, that they want to use it outside of the visibility of the government prying eyes. The first link is you got to trust me. That's what people need to do first. They need to say, what is behind that link? Legitimate question, membership platform. And you can go in and see it. A bit.ly link is going to take you to a page which has got content on it to give you some deeper explanation as to why you're coming here. And then I have to educate people slowly that if you make that link and jump into that link, I could put the entire URL up there with no problem, but people are not going to type out the entire URL. So when people sign up to that site, you're getting visitor access. I'm just going to give you access to content that's appropriate for a visitor. But in order to get into deeper layers of the content, I need to know who's assigned to that email address, and I'd be willing to open up deeper levels of content. I'm going to filter out trolls. I'm going to filter out police that are trying to do retaliatory activities on them, and I'm not going to give them full access to view behind the scenes. I'm going to assume everybody is coming in for nefarious reasons. That's the assumption. I'm going to treat everybody as a troll until they're willing to take the steps of level of transparency of themselves to get to the deeper level of access. I'm not going to reveal to the public wretchedness on the best ways that I envision doing this. I have auditors that come into the community and they don't want to give me their email address, and I'm like, or tell me who they are tied to their email address. I'm like, that's totally fine. I don't need to know that. I don't need to know your identity tied to your auditing channel tied to your email address. That's totally fine. I just can't give you access to the private auditor community. Well, but I'm an auditor. I said, how do I know that email is an auditor? I need a way to join that email to that auditor. If you're willing to make that connection for me, I'll let you go into the auditing community. But if not, I'm not letting you in the auditing community because you could be somebody spoofing somebody else to cause harm. And I'm not going to let you do that. Not inside my control. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, oh, you can do that all days to Sunday. You can create any bogus account you want. But if you want to get into that little community, I'm going to put a little bit of a hurdle there to protect those people that are willing to be that authentic and transparent in the community. I'm going to protect them. I do know that. And that's why I've got multiple layers. I've got what I'm saying on Facebook, Twitter, and Periscope, and YouTube. I've got what I'm saying inside the private membership, that I've got private groups in secure domains that I'm having another level of conversation. And I allow people to get into this degree of depth based upon verification, authenticity and verification. And if you don't want to be verified, that's okay. You're just not part of that experience, and you may not need to be part of that experience. That's my choice. You don't like it, go create your own. Create your own. I don't have all the answers, but this is the way I choose to do it. And you may judge the way that I choose to do it, which is totally fine. And you don't like the way I do it, speak into what I'm doing and how I could do it differently and bring your best evidence why, and maybe influence me to do something different, or go create your own. Those are the options. All right. Anyway, I just recently learned that that an auditor that I enjoyed, Katilla the Hun freedom fighter, is no longer auditing. And she was a very good, respectful, kind auditor. And I can kind of discern why she left auditing, but I would so much like to have a conversation with her from her experience as to why she made the decision to step away from auditing, because she had a powerful voice and message. And I hope to reach out to her. Sadly enough, when I reach out to auditors, they're so mired in what they're doing that they're very resistant to allow other people to speak into them, even respond to them. I wish they would have the ability to be open to communicate with other people, because there's a lot of bright people in this world, and we don't have all the answers by ourselves. I don't have all the answers. I have ideas, thoughts, strategies, concepts. I benefit from feedback. If you're resistant to feedback, that's fine. You're off on your own little island. Continue doing. I wish you tremendous success. I think there's benefit by being united as opposed to being isolated, but that's just my view. All right, I'm heading out of here. I'm going to stop recording. I'm going to put this up on YouTube, and I'm going to share it. And I understand that. I understand that. And what I'm trying to do is build the bridge of communication so that they can have a level of trust in me to allow a gentle lowering of the guard, not the dropping of the guard, the lowering of the guard. I have enough inventory of who I am as an authentic, transparent person on all of my channels, and that people can go do their own due diligence as to who this guy is really. Just means one step of the guard going down. I'm not looking for the dropping of it, but I understand their hesitancy. And I think there's more issues to that than I think there's more behind that. So anyway, everybody have a great day. I'm going to put this up and share it, and I hope it's of value. And I invite people to join us at We Are John Galt, and follow the page on Facebook if you're a Facebook user, because it starts there. Start in social media, and then we branch out. Everybody have a great day.